Welcome to the show. My name is Scott Backen and I'm a content creator from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And today we're talking all about get the hell out of debt. My guest today, Erin Skye Kelly, says her 18-month strategy will move everybody out of debt into a cash positive situation. She herself was $2.1 million in debt and has seen these principles work not only for her, but for people who have chosen to do her course. So, Erin says it doesn't matter if you're $5,000, $10,000, or $500,000 in debt. These principles work. This conversation was completely mind-blowing and life-changing. I'm excited to put them into action. Erin is so committed to helping you get out of debt that she has given me a code to give you for free for her course, Get the Hell Out of Debt. All you have to do is go to my Instagram account, join my broadcast channel, Your Pivot Year, and join in as we talk about all things financial, health and wellness, and moving towards our goals. But as part of Your Pivot Year and these conversations, please sit back, relax, and watch and enjoy Get the Hell Out of Debt. Erin, welcome to the show.
Scott, I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. It's so good to see you. Like I said, I don't know what the name of the show is yet, but
whatever you create, it's going to be magic. I know you.
So.
I've only ever seen you
create
stuff out of your imagination that turns into magic.
I've tried.
Yeah.
You know what? It's hard to do in Canada sometimes. Do you ever feel that?
Mm-hmm. Well, Canada's tough because we're so broad and vast and spread out. And it's harder.
Everyone's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's everywhere.
You go to any other country and people are so connected.
Right. So for those, obviously we've known each other for 20 years, which is crazy.
Let's pretend it's not that long because I don't want to be that old.
But we still look good, right?
You do.
Oh, you look great. Oh. You've been up to some, for people that are just tuning in and being like, I know who you are, and I know you have a big following, but for people that are unfamiliar with you in my community, why don't you just tell them who you are, what you do?
I'm a Canadian girl at heart who one time got myself in a whole lot of financial caca and then got myself out of it. And so I've written a couple of books actually, all around money. And so my mission is currently helping free people from financial stress and financial struggle and helping them become financially free.
And this is a huge topic.
It is huge.
This one is huge because this is what keeps people up at night.
It really does.
This is the one.
This is it.
This is the one.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, your husband might have erectile dysfunction, but you'll eventually fall asleep. The stress of the credit card debt is the thing that you're going to be wide awake and angry about at 3 a.m.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't prepared for that. But okay, yes. This is what keeps people up at night. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I? And I think it even intensifies when you're in your mid 40s because it's when stuff's getting real and you're looking at, you know, your prime of your life. And I think another thing is you see the pressure of other people. Some people are overperforming and some people are underperforming. You're trying to find your category.
Yeah. And I think the youth fallacy is that you always think, okay, I'm going to just eventually make more. Like I'll eventually catch up. And because that's not true when we don't have good financial systems in place, what happens is you start to realize you're running out of time. Yeah. And that is scary for a lot of people.
That's it, because when you're young, who cares?
Yeah.
It's no worries. It's like they live at home with their parents, you know, it'll be fine.
Sleep on someone's couch.
Everything's been fine up until now, until things get real.
Yeah.
So the tax man comes, and, the other people come, whoever's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
You know, but life's expensive.
It is.
And life is not getting cheaper.
And the other thing is that the banks have made it so easy historically to borrow. And so it is covered for a lot of our mistakes or shortfall until eventually you realize like you can't play that game for very long either. So that gets really painful real fast.
Right. So the point of today's conversation, what I really want to help people with is exactly what you're saying. You know, we're going into new year, but like get the hell out of debt, which is just such a great, because it's so aggressive and we need to hear it, you know, because people take debt too lightly.
I agree.
Right.
Yes.
And it does weigh on your shoulders, but some people take debt too lightly. But I love this because what I want to help people with is not only get the hell out of debt, but get positioned to take your life forward.
Yes,
absolutely. And this is what you do, that you help people with this.
I do. And it's become this like really big passion of mine because I think a lot of times when you're starting out on your financial journey, you don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes when you get started, you can often feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I should have known this by now. I feel, inadequate in all these ways. And it's not like that. it really is something like we're not taught this information. You really have to have like a rich relative or somebody that you trust who's guided you in order to learn any of this stuff, because most of the financial books out there are completely boring. So trying to even get through one of those can be really difficult. And so it's sort of been my mission in a way to really make it fun, make it easy, and make it absolutely approachable, and the type of thing that then you can teach your kids or you can teach your other friends.
Right. And what's really interesting about what you just said is this is not a skill that is taught in school. Like we're taught other things, but we are not taught money management.
Some kids nowadays, like my kid took a budgeting course.
Right.
I think in grade 9.
These must be new because they didn't have that in Saskatchewan.
And of course he's my kid, right? Who has his own net worth spreadsheet and has had his own business and, and he's rolling his eyes. He's like, you wouldn't believe what they have us do. And really it's just about math. Like it's about, money coming in and out. They're not teaching financial, like cash flow. They're not teaching financial freedom. They're not teaching investments or any of that stuff. And so that's what gets missed is like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, I know how to balance a checkbook, but I don't have checks. It's 2023, 2024. Totally. And this is irrelevant now. So it should be taught.
Yeah. And so first of all, let's get into this. How common is it for people to be in debt?
Really common.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we go out in the street and we like throw a rock and it hits somebody, odds are that person has at least their income times 2 in debt. So if they earn, income in a half. So let me explain this with words instead of half-formed thoughts. So if we walk out in the street and we throw a rock and it hits somebody and they make 80 grand a year, odds are they have at least $40,000 in debt. Consumer debt. So credit cards, student loans, lines of credit, vehicles, 50% of their income. Right. And we know that because that's pretty much the max of what banks will do. They'll lend you that much at least. Now, some people have 100% in income and some people have more. Wow. But the majority of people have about 50% of their annual income in consumer debt that's laying around, which makes it so hard to get ahead because when you're servicing that debt with your income, there's not a whole lot left over for anything else.
Right. Because it's being eaten up in interest.
Yeah. And what happens for a lot of people, how they manage their money, and if this is you, there's no shame because there really has not been another solution for you until now. Right. But they will rack up their credit card, they'll pay it off or pay some of it off, and then they'll take that available room and they'll rack it up again. And they'll keep doing that. And then the credit card company is like, you are so good at debt. I'm going to give you a really high score. High five. Here's another $10,000 in available credit. And then that gets racked up. And slowly over time, you start to realize, oh my gosh, if I don't get this paycheck, I'm in the hole.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Well, why are banks doing that to us?
Profit.
Right.
Right?
This is how they make money.
I know.
Yeah.
They don't make money by patting us on the head and going, good job budgeting this month, right? They're designed. And it's in even how they help you get out of debt is they'll consolidate. And this is one that I hear over and over and over again from people who read the book or do the Get the Hell Out of Debt online program is they'll say, well, a couple years ago, I thought I was solving my problem and I was consolidating all of this high interest debt into a lower interest payment. But what they didn't realize was the fine print. And in the fine print, the way that money was compounded actually meant that it cost them more money. Right. Because of the, how the frequency of how it was compounded or something like that. Right. They didn't look at something called the total cost of borrowing. So they lumped all their debt together in a one lump sum, but they still had access to credit cards and different things, and they rack it up again.
Shoot.
Yeah.
So they got one clear thing, but then they've got the same.
But now they've got, and it racks up again. Shoot. And, we just had a gal on my podcast she's in her 50s and she has paid off all of her debt 3 or 4 times, but every time by paying it off, she just rolled it into her mortgage. Right. And today the mortgage is higher than what she paid for the home 20 years ago. Right. And she's not paid any of it down, of course. So, I mean, now she was on the podcast as a success story.
Okay.
So she's sorted it all out, but that journey was really what made her go, I'm doing something wrong. Like this is not the life I envisioned for myself when I started out in my career.
But I imagine people that are listening to this, these are scary stuff.
Scary.
This is scary stuff because this is very common. So take away the shame for us. So we know that most people have debt.
Yeah. Walk down the street, give someone a high five. They've got debt. So you're in the same boat if you've got it. It's okay.
Right. And why are we in debt? Like why, you know what I mean? Why are we in debt?
Well, sometimes it's a systemic thing. So we have to acknowledge that, right? It's really easy for you and I to sit here from a place of privilege and go, stop putting shoes on your credit card, right? That's not what it is for a lot of people. Sometimes it's a systemic issue.
Okay.
But most of the time for people who are in a position of privilege, it really is just lack of paying themselves first, so putting away money for future investments. It's not knowing how to invest. It's not really understanding how money works, and it's having available credit for those moments. And we all do this, you and me included, because we're human, is there are moments where our emotions dictate our behaviors. Yeah. And so we might tell ourselves at the beginning of every month, oh, this month I'm going to do my best to stick to the budget. Yeah. And then there's a Black Friday sale or a compelling Instagram ad or something. Or
you go on a trip and you walk into a store that's not in your area and you're like, I'll take it off. You know, and you're like, and then you get home and you're like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're in debt just because of the life we're living. Yeah. Some people are just, you know, quick consumers, and other people it's like they're literally paying their bills.
Yeah.
Just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So talk to us a bit about the spinning tire life. How do we stop spinning the tires? You know what I mean? Think about the couple or whatever that's got the kids that they're fighting at night and they're just like, how do we stop the spinning tires? I know that's a big question, but
there's two answers to this question. Okay. So remind me.
Okay.
The first part though is that we actually have to take a real honest look at what's actually happening, because oftentimes when we're spinning our tires, we're making assumptions about things. We're not really looking at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie.
Right.
So the very first thing we always have to do is literally pull out everything, like open up all your statements if you're still getting those in the mail, log into all of your accounts, and really take an accounting. There's two tools you're going to use. The first one is your net worth, and that's an accounting of all of your assets, which is everything you own, and all of your liabilities, which is everything you owe. And you're going to compare those against each other.
Right.
And when you subtract those numbers, that number equals your net worth.
Right.
And your entire job, if you want to become financially free, is to make that net worth go up every month. Now, when you're starting out, it might only go up by $1,
right?
But at least it's going up, and you're paying attention to what's happening. And how we make that go up is then we take our second tool, which is our budget or cash flow planner. I mean, some people hate the word budget, so like, I hate that word budget. I'm calling it you can call it a sunshine list for all I care. It does not matter. Call it whatever you want. But what you have to do is you have to take an accounting of your income, all the money that's coming into your life every month, and all the money that's going out. So your income versus your expenses. Right. And your budget's entire job is to make that net worth go up. Now, you're going to do that while you're in debt. And then when you're out of debt, in order to not go back into debt, you're going to use those same two tools to build wealth. And that's going to increase the net worth over time. Okay. So that's the first part of the question. That's how we're going to start, stop spinning the wheels.
So confront it.
Yes.
Get confrontive.
And you get like viciously honest with yourself and your partner, right? You can't be like, I mean, we've had people say things to me like, you know, my husband gets a fried chicken sandwich every day. And then I'm like, what do you overspend on? Well, nothing. And then she's like, okay, maybe a box of wine a week. I'm like, okay, judge his fried chicken. Why not? Right? We have to hold up a mirror sometimes, right? It's not our partner's problem.
Get brutally honest, look at the numbers, and get real with yourself.
And the other thing that's happening when you're talking about the couple that's kind of fighting and they're up at 3 a.m. and they're arguing, usually what's happening in that situation is our money blocks are intersecting. Okay. So here's a fun thing. Every human, you included, me included, every human alive has a money block. There are 8 major ones. And they're things like a lack block, a worthiness block, a procrastination block. There's a hard work block. So there's different money blocks. And what these are stories that we formed because of our first dealings with money we had as a kid.
Interesting.
So if you had an encounter with money as a kid that was really positive, you then because you're a kid, you're trying to figure out life. And so you made it mean something. And if that meaning was empowering, you probably have a good relationship with money to this day. But if the meaning was disempowering, you probably created a money block, which is a little obstacle in your mind as to why something can't be done. So for example, a lot of people have a hard work block, which means when they start to run out of money, their instant go-to is, I got to work harder. I need a second job. I have to, right? Sometimes they make things more complicated than they are. We all know somebody who makes things more complicated than they are, right? So that would be an example of a hard work block. And then somebody else might have a worthiness block where they just don't feel deserving of money or wealth. So every time money comes into their life, they're almost repelling it because they just don't feel worthy of it. So sometimes that means they're taking on debt unconsciously or overspending or something like that. Now, if you've got a hard work block and your partner has a worthiness block and you're married, what that means is you are always going to see your partners, like let's say you're the hard work block person and your partner is the worthiness person. You're going to be always working to overcompensate, right? And they may feel like, oh, we never have enough. This person doesn't want to spend time with me. You work too much. Why aren't you home? And so it's creating friction. They might look at the worthiness issue and think, if only you'd work harder. Like, I wish you would just like pick, like, get to work, take action. And they can't because their block is very different. And so where those two blocks intersect, that's from my book, Naked Money Meeting. So if you want to read, totally want to read up on it.
Very like eye-opening.
Yeah. And so when you look at those two things, you still have to do section A, which is figure out your net worth and figure out your budget. But now we have to do it with a level of compassion in a partnership that's different than how we would approach it if somebody had the same block as we had. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, wild,
so
hey?
Spinning the tires. So our thing is, number one, we're going to confront and get real.
Yeah.
Look at our net worth. And then number two, did we do number two?
Number two, confront. Then number two is live with compassion for yourself and for your partner if you're married. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff, a lot of the reasons these things are happening to you aren't because you're stupid or aren't because, yes, we weren't taught this in school, but it's not an excuse at the end of the day, right? There's, well, I didn't learn a lot of things in school, right? I certainly didn't learn how to do TikTok dances, but I'm pretty good at them now, right? So we can learn anything, right? If we want to, but we have to come at it with a flashlight, like with really bring everything into the light so there is no shame. Because no matter what circumstance you are in today, you don't deserve to be in that circumstance. If it's stressful, that's not what was intended for your life.
Right.
You are, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, like wants to bless you. Right. And so we have to get ourselves in a position where not only can we receive that blessing, which is hard for some people to do, but be a good steward of that blessing and learn really how to manage it really well and wisely.
Right. And time frame to stop spinning tires? Should we put unrealistic or realistic? No. Is it a year, 2 years? Like what kind of time frame should be people working with?
18 months.
Really?
Yes, which is why
consolidation
doesn't work over and over and over again. I have so much data on this. So much data.
18 months.
Yes. So that's why consolidation is so dangerous, right? Because it takes all your different, let's say 5 different credit cards, you lump some of them together into consolidation. That usually takes about 5 years to pay off because they're compounding. Meanwhile, you're racking up more debt. Right. But if you focus and you really apply, and I'll give you all the steps, like literally for free on the podcast today because I love Scott. Not that I would charge for it anyway, but I'll give you all the
we're joining the course anyway because we want to get the hell out of that.
That's right. But if you work the system and you work it in order, that's important. It's like a combination to a safe.
There is an order.
I can give you all the numbers to a safe, but if you don't put them in the right order, the safe won't unlock and you won't get all the riches inside. So it's important that you do them in order. But the very first thing that you got to do, of course, is that radical accountability that we just talked about. We got to take stock and see where we're at. And we have to be okay with, we don't have to make up excuses as to why it's the way it is. We don't have to be like, this is because of my cousin Fred and the business we were in that he ripped me off for. This is because of my ex. Like, who cares? This is what the numbers are today. There's no emotions. The numbers don't care what the excuse is. This is just what the numbers are. And now we're going to work with that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get caught up on everything.
Sure.
So if we're behind on any bills, we have to figure out how we're going to do that. We're also going to get viciously ruthless with all of our expenses. I keep saying viciously.
Yeah,
it's like my new buzzword.
We need to get vicious. Let's get vicious, people.
So we're going to do what we can, and sometimes it requires a radical lifestyle change. Now, I'm not somebody who wants you to live without the fun things in life. I love the fun things.
We love the fun things.
I like the finer things. I like the fun things. We want a bit of style in our lives. We want some travel. We want all of that.
We want all that.
But for a season, we may have to go, I have to start practicing saying no to myself.
Right.
Just for a season.
And that's hard. But
because I'm saying yes to this bigger future. So we have to make sure we have that.
Okay. So yes to your future, no to
right now.
No to right now. Yeah. Not no forever, but no for right now.
You might not go to the Eras tour, but you can download it on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix, right? Is that the streaming service it's on?
I know people are paying so much money for that.
You know what? Just get it on Netflix and with your friends, and you'll catch your next round when you can pay for tickets in person. So it's that kind of stuff, right?
So we're going to say yes to our future, no to ourselves for right now. For a season.
So that's where we now go through our entire homes and we sell as much stuff as we can. We're going to live like middle. We're going to just anything that you don't need. We're going to
sell things.
We're going to sell because here's 2 reasons why we do that. Yeah. One is it really trains us what things are worth. So oftentimes what we paid for it isn't really what it's worth. It's depressing to do, but makes you see things differently.
Right.
It's also like, it brings you really back to the idea of this really consumerist culture that we have where we buy new, like
All
Amazon, which, let's be serious. Yeah. It's a hard one to hate because you just press a button and stuff shows up on your doorstep.
Like the next day,
Yeah. So it's, do we really need these things and do we need them this fast, right? And really taking account of what do I need. And I had a girl in the program a few years ago. She's now completely debt free and like really well on her way. She's probably got $500,000 in net worth now from being in the negative before. But I remember we were on a Zoom call right when Zoom was brand new. And she's like, I don't have anything to sell. I've sold everything. Like, I'm running out of ideas or whatever. And I'm behind her. I see her dining room and I think she has 2 kids, right? I'm like, how many people live in your house? And she's like, 4. And I'm like, I see 6 dining chairs. You can sell 2 chairs. She was like, but I'm like, that's the level you have to get to, the level of commitment. Now, what's really fun about her is now she makes a ton of money and she invests crazy. And so she could buy that dining set 4 times over every week if she wanted to. Right. But she had to, for a season, just for a season, really buckle down and go, I don't need any of this. Right. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing we have to do now is create more income.
Right.
So maybe you create a service. Maybe you would be the best at this. Actually, people should just call you,
call me,
charge you. You could charge for the phone call. Them. You can come up with the ideas because you're brilliant at creation and brilliant at creating ideas. But sometimes it's like the things that we come easily to us are actually our true skills, but because they come easily to us, we don't put value on them.
Right. You think, who's going to pay for this?
Who's going to pay for this? Because I wouldn't pay for this, but that you wouldn't pay for it because you're so good at it, right? Which is rare.
I see.
So we've had people do everything from make candles or start an Etsy shop or start bracelets and go to a market. Or we've had people walk dogs. We've had people create apps. We've had people do all kinds of things.
In addition to their job.
In addition to their job.
Like a side hustle.
Yeah. And again, it can be just for a season.
Right.
But what we have to do with that money is we get caught up on our bills and then we create something called the quick and dirty.
I love the quick and dirty.
I know.
Is it vicious?
Well,
it's a vicious quick and dirty.
Listen, when you start talking about money, people are like, this is so boring. So I started to say 50 Shades of Budgeting and nobody bought it.
This might be unsexy, but the sexy is when you have the money.
Yes.
So do the unsexy so you can be sexy, because I want to be like with a margarita in my hand, at the 5-star.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's really great about that is
when I'm out of debt, of course.
And you can really be in service to people in a whole different way when you don't have this desperation for cash attached to you, right? Yeah. Because as we all know, when we chase something or when we're desperate for something, it runs. Like think about the dude. Did you ever go to the bar in your 20s?
Yeah.
You know, the guy that's like at closing time that's like looking around and he's reeking of desperate. You're like, ew, like it just repels you.
Yeah.
That's how it is when we're in debt. Like we're looking around for money and money is like, ew, gross.
Right? It gets desperate.
Yes.
It's gross.
So when you're in a position of power, you're in more of an attraction state and you have the ability to really receive. And it's a whole different vibe. So you'll be in your 5-star.
Okay.
And you'll be giving money away and money will be coming in while you're at your hotel. Like it's going to be a whole different thing. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to create some income. We're going to do all that. And we're going to put that money in a quick and dirty. And a quick and dirty is a bank account at a different institution than the one you bank with.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit harder to get to.
Right.
And it needs to be a no fee account.
Okay.
So it depends where you live, but I have lots of great options for you. And they do make them. People are like, yeah, I have a no fee account. My bank doesn't charge me fees as long as I have a $5,000 balance in it. Right. I'm like, sorry, Jack. That is a fee account. Right? We need an account where you could put in money. Right. And if you ignore that account for a few months because you don't need that money, that money is all still there when you come back. Right. If it gets depleted by $10 a month, it's whether or not they tell you need a minimum balance in there or not, that's a fee account. We want a no fee account, not a jump through hoops and there's no fee account. Yeah. And so it's going to be at a separate institution than the one you bank with. And you need to gather up from your selling of your stuff, from your getting creative, because it's not just enough to get rid of expenses. That's a shrinking state. Right. We want to be an expansion state as well, which is the creation of income. So we want to do both things because we have to do both to get wealthy. Right. So we're going to put the equivalent of one paycheck in the quick and dirty. Right. Now, people are like, I get paid once a month. Great. Then it's one paycheck. Right. People get paid once a week. Great. It's one paycheck. Because we know humans live what?
Yeah. Check to check.
Paycheck to check. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is the buffer system. Right. It's basically like a debt condom.
Okay.
It protects you from using your credit card. Just making sure.
I love a debt condom.
So that's what the quick and dirty is. It stops you from using that credit card, right? It's like now the key is,
do we have a debit card for that account?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
But you're going to like not keep it in your wallet.
Right. Okay.
And you got to be really clear that that's for emergencies.
Sure.
That's not for like a Black Friday sale.
Right.
It's absolutely for emergencies.
Like, oh my gosh, I need to pay the mortgage.
Yeah. Tire blew, hot water tank went, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So the equivalent of one paycheck. Now, you're not going to use your paycheck and shove it in there because you're going to use your paycheck to pay your bills. If you had an extra paycheck laying around, you probably wouldn't be in debt.
Right.
So it really is about the accumulation of that money. And we want you to do that because we want to activate different parts of your brain that have probably been dormant for a while to get creative, to get resourceful.
Right.
Because it's not about the resources that you have. It's about the resourcefulness that you can tap into in order to build wealth.
Right.
Okay, so quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty. I'm
Got
all
it?
about it. Yes, I'm here for the quick and dirty.
Now, next thing you're going to do is, I don't know if that's 2 or 3.
Is this number 3 or 4?
This is, for us, it's, technically it's 3. But we would call that step 2. But
wait, I'm just going to. So the quick and dirty, we're all about the quick and dirty.
So you got the quick and dirty.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start to pay off the debts.
Okay.
Now there's 5 different ways you can do it.
Okay.
And you're going to choose the system based on your own psychology.
Right.
So I'll run through them real quick.
Sure.
And if you're like, I need more on that, go get the book from the library or whatever. We go into all the psychology of it later. But you can pay them off in order of the smallest balance to the largest balance.
Yeah.
That's the one Dave Ramsey really likes, right? So he's the guy for that one.
So this is our debt we're paying off. Mm-hmm. So you're going to do, sorry, say that again.
You're going to pay them off in the order of the smallest balance to the largest balance.
Okay.
Or, and I'll make this make more sense in a minute, largest interest rate to smallest interest rate, right? There's all these different ways. Let's just say that. There's all these different ways you can pay it off, okay? So you're going to choose your own adventure. Which one makes the most sense to you? We take you through a whole system to figure out which one, but you might already be listening and go, I already know the one I want to pay off because like for me, it was this, I should bleep this. I shouldn't actually say it. It was the Blue Bank. Do you know which one I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The Blue Bank. I hated that bank so much. I went into the Blue Bank. No fault of the Blue Bank, but there was this one teller who was so condescending. And I was like, I know I'm in trouble, but I need your help with this one thing. And she was like, wow, you should put some money. I'm like, ooh, so annoyed. So I just always hated the Blue. Now that woman has not thought about me at all in 30 years, but I thought about her for a long time.
She was like, almost a good thing.
Yes.
You know?
She was my worthy adversary.
Yes, I like that.
So I paid that one off first, even though it might not have made sense financially.
Sure.
It was an emotional leverage for me to like get rid of that one. Right. So you're going to choose for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pay the minimums on all of your debts, which feels weird for a lot of people. They're like, just the minimums? But yes, you're going to pay the minimums. And the one that you're going to focus on first, you're going to throw everything at that one. You're not going to touch your quick and dirty. That's only for emergencies. Okay. But everything that you can gather up. Now, the budget's job, as you remember, is to increase the net worth. It was on the tip of your tongue.
Yes, it was.
Budget's job is to increase the net. I don't know why I was quizzing you there.
Yes, I like
what
it.
are we in kindergarten?
This is good.
Raise your hand.
Keeping me alive. So we're going to, because as we're doing that, we're doing this.
Yes.
We want to go here.
Up top. Nailed it.
We want to go here, people. Here.
Yes. Yeah. So you're going to pay the minimums on everything and you're going to laser, like sharks with frickin' laser beams on their head, right? And you're going to focus all your energy on paying off.
I love these sharks with laser beams.
What was that? Dr. Evil?
I
Who was
don't know,
that?
but I can see
Austin
them
Powers?
now. Yeah.
And so you're going to be so focused.
Right.
And you're going to throw every spare dollar you have at that debt, whichever debt is first on your list. Right. Then you're going to take everything you're paying on that one and you're going to put it on the next one. Now it's called the snowball method or the avalanche method. There's all sorts of different snowstorms related analogies for that, but you're going to choose one at a time. And the reason is because what happens otherwise is people will make sort of minimum payments on everything or pay a little bit towards everything and nothing
worst,
ever goes anywhere.
That's the spinning the tires.
Yes.
Because you're just like through 500 and you're back to...
You're hired.
You're hired, yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah, you and me, we're going on tour.
Yes, you nailed it. So good. Yes. So you're just going to keep doing that. And that's the process that takes about 18 months. Now, we've had people do it in 6 months and we've had people do it in 2 years.
But see, what you've just laid out for people is that there's a strategy.
Yes.
Is whereas people, I think, they don't know the plan.
Yes.
They just like, oh, when I get money, I'll put some here and I'll put some there. And there's too much going on. And I do think one of the big problems is we don't look at the numbers.
No, we don't look at the numbers.
We don't look at the numbers. Like people rip up the envelopes. Not that I would know about that. when they come, like, not right now, Satan. Not today,
In the
Satan.
shitter.
No, it's under the blood.
I rebuke thee.
Yeah, exactly. But the numbers can get confronting, right?
Yes.
But how do you, okay, so you've given a plan.
Yeah.
People are going, Erin, this sounds great. This sounds great. But I don't make enough money. Like, I mean, so like, they're like, we're barely making ends meet as it is. And I'm just talking to the people out there that love, these people that throw a million excuses.
Yeah.
So they'll say,
I was that person.
They'll say, okay, Erin, but that's great. But I'm picking up the kids. I'm dropping the kids off. I'm tired at the end of the day. I'm doing nothing but laundry. We're stressed to the max. Like, what are you saying to them?
Good luck. I'm not helping you. I'm not, because it's like you don't want help when you're that covered with excuses. You have to lay those excuses down. Now, in all seriousness, I get it. I know that it's hard, and I'm
just trying to help people that are looking at this going, "Oh, sounds great."
Yeah, easy for you to say.
Easy for you to say, but
totally.
You've seen this time and time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And I like that you have a time frame around it.
Yeah.
That gives people hope, because what I want to encourage people with is 18 months. If you were to say no to yourself for 18 months and focus, and I can only imagine that after the 18 months of doing that, your relationship with money and your ability to save is only going to be more increased, right?
Yeah. Well, let me show you.
Okay. I like this. Yeah, I'm ready.
Average person who I work with or have come, into my life on average, and it's different everywhere. So if you live in a small town, the number's probably smaller. Yeah. If you live in a big city, the number's probably bigger, just because incomes tend to be bigger.
Right.
So this is just rough. But let's say you're 35 years old. Okay. So you have 30 years roughly till what you would consider retirement. This is how nerdy I am. Don't ever sit next to me at a party, because I pull out my compound interest calculator and I will bore you to death. Okay, so the average
you'll be rich.
You'll be rich. So the average person has $2,500 in payments a month, not including the mortgage.
$2,500 in payments.
Yeah, so vehicle payment, credit card payments,
Insurance,
all the things,
gas,
right? Yeah.
Rent, whatever.
So once we pay that debt off in 18 months, if we now take that same $2,500 and we start investing it for the next 30 years, we don't do anything. We make more income in the years. We still don't. We get to blow that money on whatever, but we just take what we were servicing the debt with, $2,500. And we start investing it. And I'm using for those of you that are big math nerds, I'm using a calculation of 8%. So if somebody's going to be like, where do you get 8% in the market? That's not the point. I'll teach you all that too. Don't worry. And we compound it monthly for 30 years. At the end of 30 years, you now have $3.7 million. Wow. It's actually closer to 3.8.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is your special calculator.
It's available to you too.
Wow.
You can get it on iTunes or an Apple iTunes store.
I love it. So where are you putting that $2,500? Just anywhere that gives you 8%?
No, because you don't know what gives you 8%. Right. That's the thing about investing. Okay. So we're going to teach you all kinds of things, but you're going to, with a 30-year time horizon. So basically when you're investing, this is a sidebar. Don't do this now. Your number one job is to pay off debt, because that debt is costing you $3.8 million.
Right.
So
before you invest, you pay off debt.
You think especially when you can focus and you can get it done in 18 months. Right. Now, if for some reason you're like, I'm going to pay off my debt over the next 10 years, then don't hold off investing, because you're going to miss out on a lot of compounding.
Sure.
But if you really want to maximize this, the best way that I found in the 20 some years I've been doing this is you pay off all the debt ASAP, right. Like your life, like 3.8 million depends on it. Like,
right.
And then we start investing. Now, if you've got RSPs or 401ks or, other stuff that you're already contributing to, continue to do that, because that's already in your budget. Mm-hmm. But what you're going to do is you're going to start investing in really, really like types of investments that cause growth or cash flow. That's what we care about.
Right.
This is a whole other podcast.
No, but
we'll do another series. We'll come back and talk about that some other time. Yeah.
We want to get rid of
our
liabilities.
But on average, you can definitely, a conservative financial planner will use 5% as their numbers, right? But on average, if you know what you're doing and you're paying attention to your numbers every week, because you're going to update that net worth spreadsheet every week, because it's going to be confronting, but it's going to be exciting. And you're going to celebrate every time that net worth goes up, even if it goes up just by $1.
I like this.
And you're going to I have a really cute spreadsheet too. It's all color coded. Red is for liabilities, meaning like don't, or like, right. And green or teal is like go. That's the assets. Yeah. And so it's really easy to use, and you just fill it out every week, and then it tracks how much it went up every week, and you can watch yourself progress and you can celebrate.
Right.
So that's what happens. 18 months from now,
we're gonna be rich.
You could be on your way. And then what's really cool about a lot of people who've been through, because I've done it for so long now. We've had millionaires, like people who had nothing who are now millionaires.
This works.
And they stay what's cool is they stay in the little program and they give back and they teach and they said, this is what worked for me. So this is an investment I made that was stupid, and they share. But the point of all of that is that with enough time and enough practice, you can do it.
Right.
There are dumb people who are rich, I guarantee you.
Right.
And nobody watching this or listening to this is half as stupid as some of the people out there who are really wealthy. Of course. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think people feel the shame. Like, I think people think about this, like, why can't I get rich?
Right.
Or I'm going to get rich because I'm going to win the lottery, or someone's going to, give me an inheritance. But what all you're saying is, this is easy to achieve. Getting out of debt, achieving wealth is not that hard. It's just strategies, being smart with your money, systems, getting real, confronting. When you talk about assets, so 18 months we're free from debt. Yeah. You're talking about investing money. Should we be buying assets like a house, a second home?
A house is not an asset. Okay,
sorry.
Okay.
Whoa.
Don't
back
buy a
up.
house.
Okay, wow, that was shocking.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I like this.
I got a little spicy. I have a chapter in the book called Plot Twist, and it's where I then make everybody take their houses off their network spreadsheets because the house is not an asset. Now, I learned this a long time ago. I'm telling you, it blew my mind. Okay. I actually years ago had an assistant, and when I told her this, she didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. She was so mad. She was so mad.
She was angry.
She went on and paid off her mortgage though. So it worked.
Well,
again.
She was the blue bank lady.
Yes, she was. But so what an asset. Okay. So when you're starting out, you did everything right so far. You put all your assets in the spreadsheet, which is all the things you own. So you put your house in there and you put your mortgage, for example, in the liability section. Good for you. Yeah. Good job. Mm-hmm. That's what the banks consider to be your asset and liabilities, because they're willing to lend against that stuff. Okay. Right. But you as a wealthy person, now that you're stepping into your wealthy person persona, that's not how you're going to view an asset.
Wow.
You're going to view an asset as something that puts money in your pocket.
Sure. Right.
So your primary residence takes money out of your pocket.
Right.
So we don't consider it an asset. We consider it a liability. Right. So I don't want you to buy a house when you're out of debt. Now, you can buy a house if, let's say it's a triplex or a duplex. Okay. And it's got a suite, and you're going to live in the little suite in the basement.
Right.
You can tell we live in Canada when we say basement suites, because all my friends in Florida are like, what do you mean? Who would live in a basement? What do you mean? There's no basement.
Shelter there. Like a bunker.
Bomb shelter. Yeah.
We live in them.
We do. But and rent out the upstairs, right? So that your expenses are covered and you can live for free. Now we have an asset, and we've
producing asset.
Yes, and we've greatly reduced our expenses.
Get it.
So anything that we can do, right? Because that's when you reduce your expenses. Now you're taking that money that you would have put towards expenses, and you're going to now buy other assets with it, which is going to increase your net worth.
Right.
So absolutely, you're going to be buying assets, and it's going to be fun. And I'm telling you, what's cool is it almost has the same high when you're buying assets as it does when you're making that purchase on Amazon. Right. You know that little like, ooh, I can't wait to get the thing.
Yeah.
Now when you're buying the asset, it's like it has that same,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Except it's not putting you in debt.
Yes.
I like this feeling.
Yes, it's really fun.
Wow. Yeah. So do you have credit cards?
I didn't for a long time.
Okay.
So what's really fun about this is I didn't use my credit. I could not. And I tell people in that, like my friend Mark Groves talks about how if you've been in a series of toxic relationships, he tells women this all the time, you need to go on a dick detox.
I can tell that you speak to women all the time. Because we've got we have debt condoms, we got erectile dysfunction, and dick detox.
I do. I talk to a lot of women.
Right.
And so, and he's like, you just take a break from men you go on a man fast for a little while, right? You just really have to get back to who you really are instead of the patterns you've been practicing in relationships. And so it's the same with credit cards. I knew I had to go on a credit card detox because I was like, I'm not doing this for a year. I'm just taking a break. Right. And people are like, well, then how do you travel? How do you can get a prepaid card. You can use Visa or MasterCard debit. There's all kinds of ones you can use. And I had kept one credit card that I used for parking when I needed it. But I took everything off auto pay, and I had to get rid of the idea that I needed these points, because the idea of these points was the thing that was, I kept thinking free travel.
Are they free?
No, it's so, when you add it up and I got to fly through Guam to get to, you know what I mean?
But the lounges.
It's not worth it.
Lounges.
There's plenty of other ways, right? And what those are incentives to keep. The bank uses those. I mean, we think, oh, I'm getting this for free, but the bank isn't interested in giving you anything for free. Right. They're only doing it when they can get a profit, right? When it's going to make them more money. So they're like using their best forensic psychology to trick us into spending more all the time, right?
So nothing is for free.
Nothing's for free.
Because I saw on the Starbucks thing, they're like, your 10th drink is free. It's like, you've paid for it.
We have paid for it. They brought that program in when my chai tea lattes went up 10 cents, right?
I know. And then as you buy 10, of course, because you've already pre-bought it.
You've pre-bought it. Absolutely. See, look at you.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to write a money book. It'll be so great.
I saw that slogan. I thought, I've already paid for this free drink.
Yes,
I've invested into it already. So nothing's free. No loyalty program is free. You've built into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's cool about all of this, when you have this awareness and you start to see things differently, is it really does free you from that sort of urgency of like, I need to do this. Like, I need to buy this 10th pack of butter to get the air miles. Like, I don't need that much butter. You don't need that much butter, honey. Like, you're better to have that cash in your pocket.
This is what we do though. These optimum points. And it's like, if I just hit this, I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I had to go on a detox because I thought, I'm giving up. I'm not going to be incentivized into anything. My only incentive is to make that net worth go up every month. Wow. I'm in charge. The bank is not telling me what to do. I'm in control of my money. My money is not in control of me. And so I really had to switch that. So I did give up credit cards for a long time. And then I was a Beacon reject. Literally had no credit score for a long time, and like was great. I was like off grid. I didn't get any of those weird offers in the mail or those emails. It was really nice. But now I do. This is also funny. When I decided to apply for a credit card, I have a photo of this somewhere on the internet, but I applied for my first credit card and it came in the mail and, instantly approved, right? Because they're like, you have they were all like, I want to be the first to get you in debt. Yeah. The credit card arrives in the mail and I flip it over and the CVV code on the back is 666.
Oh, great.
And I was like, I see what's happening. I
see. Yeah.
I'm going to be very careful with this. So I do now for
you do have a credit card.
Work expenses. But
what about
I don't use it for
credit cards? Line of credit the same. You treat it like a credit card. You pay it off. You start from the smallest to the largest. You knock one out. Yep. Knock one out one at a time.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And one of the things when people have a really large, like it can be really intimidating. Let's say you've got like a line of credit on your home. Sometimes technically it's a second mortgage, right? But let's say it's a $70,000 balance or something that feels really high. One of the cool things you can do is make some kind of visual chart for yourself where you're like, okay, on this, I put a car for $13,000. I put this trip for $5,000, and you make some kind of visual representation of what that $70,000 is. And every time you knock out like $500 of it, you color in a square. Right. And it also helps you take that huge number and kind of break it down into something smaller that feels like you can tackle it.
I see. So the encouragement here is people listening, people watching that have debt.
Yes.
Is one, they can get out of it.
Yes.
They can get out.
You can.
I think that's the thing is they feel shame and they feel overwhelmed and the couples are fighting and the people are feeling hopeless. Yeah. But the good news is, one, you can get out of it with a plan.
Yes.
An 18-month plan.
Yes. And sometimes less.
Sometimes less.
Yeah.
And then once they turn the tables,
yes,
looking at income producing assets and moving forward, and then they'll be in a position where they can be relieved.
And the beautiful part about being in that position of financial freedom is that, we talked about that, $3 million, $3.8 million. That you can have that stay as a principal amount in your life and you can live on the interest of that. So now your interest, like now I don't care if you have a car payment because you've got, let's say, I don't know, $100,000 a year in interest coming your way. Yeah. And so, go get a car payment because you've got an asset that's paying for that now. Right. You don't have to trade your time. You're not, you're not working yourself to the bone to pay for it.
And that's the thing. I think I was watching something the other day. The guy said people think about it's the time. They don't have the time for your money.
Yes.
Because we don't have enough time to get that much money. That's the spinning the wheels. He said you need to start selling things. That's what he said, like selling a product or selling a thing because your time will never, you'll always be in that spinning in the circle because that's the way we think. I just got to go get another job for 20 hours a week. Now I'm working 60 hours.
Hard work block.
Work block.
Yeah.
So your other book, so tell everybody the names of your book. So you've got Get the Hell Out of Debt.
Get the Hell Out of Debt.
Yeah.
And then my second book is Naked Money Meetings. And that one, so Get the Hell Out of Debt.
Is that the newer one?
Is really about Get the Hell Out of Debt is the practical, tactical tools, basically all of the systems, all of the things you need to do.
Right.
And Naked Money Meetings deals with the mindset stuff.
Sure. That's the blocks.
And you need, and you really do need them both really to heal anything, right? Because it's like you can, otherwise you're just going to rack up debt, pay it off, rack up debt, pay it off, and keep that cycle going if you don't deal with the mindset stuff that's happening underneath. Yeah.
I like what you said about healing, because there is such an attachment to money.
Yeah.
Because we're raised in different people. Some people spend money like it's water. Some people save it like they don't ever want to, because you can be extreme on both levels,
yes,
right?
That's a block too.
That's a block.
The hoarding it is a block.
Okay, because my dad is like that. He's from Saskatchewan, farmer mentality, like
love
picking
him
up.
already.
You love him.
I
know.
do.
You love
It's like there's nobody like a Saskatchewan farmer, right? Like just the salt of the earth.
Picking up pennies off the ground, Pringle jars full. All around the house, you know what I mean? Like hundreds of dollars in pennies in a Pringle jar. But that's the way he was, like so bare bones. But that's also extreme, right?
It's also a block because it's not allowing him to invest.
So I can call him and tell him about his block.
No, here's the rule. Here's the rule.
Dad, I want to let you know about your block.
Do not call your partner. Do not be like, Erin says you have this block. Like the way you heal it is you deal with your own blocks.
Okay.
And you let everybody else
we're
deal
not
with
going to
theirs.
put blocks
Don't
on
call
people.
your dad. That's right.
We're just going to deal with our own blocks.
That's right. But basically what's happening is he's afraid to fail, right? So he's got what's called an intelligence skill block. And it doesn't mean that he's not intelligent, because he's obviously very intelligent.
Very smart,
And I also too, I'm somebody who I'll stop and pick up a penny. But I wouldn't stop and pick up a penny at the expense of $10. Right. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you really have to be mindful of what that money costs you. Right. So if he could take all that money and invest it, he can still be wise with money, but he's got to make it grow. We can't just sort of hoard it and save it, right? Because he's not going to build wealth that way either. Yeah. So there is a bit of risk involved in the whole thing.
What about this? Right now we're obviously in a climate of it's a bit of a recession, or what? Are we in a recession?
Are we?
I don't. Okay. It says the house is not an asset lady. Are we in a recession? We're not in a recession. Or do you think people are just inflating it to justify spending?
I mean, I think we've been in a really tough economic climate. I think we were predicting things that they've actually, for the first time, seemingly done a decent job at managing in some countries. It's tough to say because there's so many things at play, but repeat after me. Scott does not participate in a recession.
Scott does not participate. Scott does not participate in a recession.
And so when you really learn to master your own economy, it's not going to matter what's going on out there. And I had to learn that the hard way too, because I was like, oh, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? It's like none of that matters. You can make money in a down climate, and you can make money in a healthy climate, economically speaking. It really depends more on you and your risk tolerance, your time horizon, and what you know about cash flow.
So you're not subscribing to times are tough.
Times are tough. It's true. Times are tough, like overall for lots of people. But I'm going to adjust my behaviors and my mindset so that I'm not as affected. Now, of course, there are going to be things that affect me, and things have affected me, but then you just shift your strategy, because I still have my laser beam focus on the end goal, right? So it's possible that things are hard, but they're only hard if you really let them take you off course.
So 3 things.
Yeah.
Is there 3 things that you just want to encourage people with right now when it comes to their new year, with how they're going to look at their finances? Or is it 4, 3? How
many things?
Okay, right now, for everybody listening, they're going to New Year. What are 3 things that people need to do to get the hell out of debt?
You are absolutely going to track your net worth every week. You're going to have a money date with yourself.
Right.
A little romantic, if you want it to be romantic. Okay. What do you like to do on a date? You want adventure? You're going to do this in the back of your Jeep.
Yeah.
If you want romance, you're going to light a candle, get a bubbly in your favorite sparkling glass, right? And you're going to sit down once a week for about 10 minutes. The first time you do it, it's going to take a long time.
Okay.
But eventually it's going to take about 10 minutes. And you're going to track that net worth every week and make sure it's going up. And you're also going to use that budget and make it increase the net worth. That's your job. Now, the other important piece of that is that your budget is never going to work out, just so you know.
Okay.
So everybody starts every month going, I'm going to set the budget for the month and whatever. And then it doesn't work. And they go, I suck at this. And then they give up. The budget was never intended to be perfect. I have asked every rich person I've ever met how many times they got their budget to work exactly as they planned. And they have all said 0 times in their entire lives.
Because the unexpected things of life.
It's like a goal you're setting for yourself, goal post. And your job is just to get as many goals as possible.
Sure.
It's not, you're not going to shut out the game. You're going to just aim at something. Yes. So that's budget and net worth is number one. The second thing you're going to do is absolutely believe that you can, and you're going to only talk to people who tell you can, because you're going to be surrounded by people who are like, oh, come on, just put on the credit card. Let's go to Vegas. Oh, come on. Let's whatever. Those people don't necessarily have your financial best interest at heart. So get your booty in a community full of people who have similar goals and who are doing the things that you want to do. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because getting curious is like one of the key components to wealth. And then the third thing you're going to do is celebrate every little stinking thing that you do well, because it's so easy to focus on all the things that are going wrong. So even if it's a matter of, let's say, I don't know, you had an NSF fee of $45 and you want to call the bank and dispute it. We all hate calling the bank.
It's the worst.
I don't want to call a bank.
You get put on hold. You get,
right? Yeah. But if you do it and you fight for that money and you get it returned, you're going to celebrate that like you just won the Stanley Cup.
Fee back. Yes.
And you're going to celebrate all the little things that you're doing to move towards your wealth all the time. You're going to start to celebrate and really honor yourself for those decisions, because it's so easy to beat ourselves up and keep ourselves in that shame spiral. And you're going to reverse that.
Yeah. How, as we end here, how do couples get on the same page? Because I'm sure you've had this where one is thinking this and one is thinking that. Advice for couples to get on the same page? It's cringe, right?
I don't know that you can. Here's what I would tell you to do. Here's what works is, if your partner isn't on the same page as you, do it anyway.
Right.
And sometimes what happens is, once your partner starts to see you getting results, then they get interested.
Sure.
But every time we try and like change or control or manipulate our partner into like doing the thing, or I've even had a woman who one time said, well, I gave him an allowance, a coffee allowance every week. And I was like, oh no. Right. You just gave him impotence. That's what you did. You didn't give him allowance. There's no way you're banging. You know what I mean? There's no way you're banging if every day he comes home and he's like, oh, I went to Tim Hortons, and she's like, did you spend all the money? Like, that's just, don't do that.
Take the sex right out of the marriage, right?
So just love your partner for who they are and where they're at.
Right.
And just have open conversations with money, uncharged emotional conversations with money. And just really let your partner, even if they're going to fail, even if you're making motion forward and they're derailing you, which sometimes happen, like a partner will start to pay off debt and then the other partner spends and kind of racks it up. I'm telling you, you got to let it go, and you have to still focus on forward motion and track what it is you're doing and how well it's going, and invite your partner into the conversation as much as possible. But if you try and pull them, you're going to create more problems in the relationship, and you have to put the relationship before money, or it's not going to work.
And who's better at this, men or women, than getting out of debt?
Just depends. Everybody, yep. Sometimes men are better, sometimes women. It depends on their personality or their psychology, right?
But you can get good at this.
Anybody can get good. I got good at it. You can get good at it.
So just let people know as we wrap up. You said you got yourself in financial caca, because they're listening to this going, oh, roll my eyes. This girl's telling me blah 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 blah. How bad was it for you?
$2.1 million.
No.
Yeah.
In what?
So I used to work at MTV 100 years ago.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, before we met.
Wow, okay.
Because I think we met when I had moved back to Canada.
Yeah.
No, I was working at MTV. I was working at MTV Canada when we met. But before that, I lived in London, and I worked at MTV Networks Europe.
I didn't know this. Okay.
And I thought I was Beyonce. Like, we would just go to these parties and we would do all these things, right? And so I was buying assets, but I thought they weren't real assets. They were properties and different things that I was buying, but not with the awareness that I have today about what a true asset is. So I was like losing money on them a month, but I thought, oh, well, I'm only losing $100 here and $300 here. And it just was, I was getting underwater there. And then I had credit cards, and because I was so good at paying the minimums on the credit cards all the time, the credit card companies kept giving me more credit. So I was always buying dinners for everybody and paying for all, like, I just was
living a large life.
Yeah, it was stupid. And literally one day woke up and thought, I'm tight. It's not working. I'm feeling like, how do I have all of these assets, but I have no money? So I added it all up and damn near shat myself, become financially literate to make a change.
So you learned, you figured it out.
Yeah.
And now you're passing that on. But this is what I want people to hear, is because, you know, people to themselves think 100,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. They're intimidated. They're thinking it's really bad. For me, that's the shame they're feeling.
Yeah.
But you're saying it was 2.1 million.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and if you can do it.
Yeah. And I'm only medium smart. Like, as you can probably tell, I'm not that articulate. I'm not that bright.
You figured it out.
But it was like a lot of trial and error and interviewing so many people and talking to wealthy people and being like, how do you, because I had been listening to people talk about money, but they were all broke people.
Right.
And so I was taking advice from, and so I really had to start to be like, hi, do you mind if I ask you a bunch of questions? And they were like, the cool thing is when you talk to wealthy people, they're often willing to help. And I think sometimes we get intimidated by that.
Right.
But people don't make fun of you when they've been in your shoes.
Right.
And so when you can find somebody who really understands what it's like or has been in your shoes, they're often willing to help. It's the people around you that, right, that are the ones that are making fun of you, but they haven't done it. So it's easy for them to make fun of you. So we deal with people in the program who, let's say they've got $5,000 in debt, and that's a huge amount for them. And you know, they can get out of debt. And we've helped many people that have had 6 figures or more, a couple people with 7 figures, but it takes the same amount of time roughly because of that debt to income ratio we were talking about before.
Wherever it is, whatever that number is, 50, 100, 200, a million, 18 months, strategies, focus, doing all the things, we can get the hell out of debt.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Where can people find more of you?
ErinSkyeKelly.com.
Right.
That's it.
That'll lead you to everything.
Courses,
or of course, books, everything.
Yeah, books. Of course, you grab those at a bookstore or Amazon or wherever, but everything else is online. Yeah.
Well, you have been awesome.
I'm so happy I got to
this
spend
has been
time
amazing.
You.
Well,
so
like
fun.
I said, longtime friends, and I love what you're doing for people, empowering people. And I know that people that are watching or listening to this are going to get the hell out of that. We're going to position people to get resourced, get strong, have a great whatever year this is, because this is evergreen content. So whatever the year this is, 2051, we want you to have the best 2051 ever.
So true. Anyway, what you're doing here and what you're building is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And so I just want to say, like, everybody who's watching this or who's been a part of this and who's on this journey with you is going to learn so much from you, not only from the head level, but from the heart level.
I hope so.
And the way you connect people is brilliant.
Thank you.
And so everybody in this community that's on this journey of wellness and greatness and healing with you is just going to be so served.
Amazing.
So
Thank
grateful.
You. Thank you. Well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I know for me, I'm super excited to apply these principles. I'm doing these episodes to help empower you in whatever state of life you're at, from health and wellness, financial freedom, travel, adventure, creativity, all those things. If today was helpful for you, what would help me is to help get the word out there. Either liking this video, adding a comment, sharing it with a friend, calling your grandma and saying, you got to watch this show. Whatever you can do to help spread the word. I know we're all in this together. We all want to help others succeed in life, and you're part of that solution. So once again, thank you for watching. If you want to watch another episode on the channel, go ahead and do that, and I'll keep bringing you this content. All right, let's get the hell out of debt.